think we're actually going to be taking off the sweater because it is too hot. Hello, my lovely friends. My name is Ava, and today we're going to be talking about the 27 books I read in October. I haven't read this many books in a few years, in a month span, probably since I was in college. That was my form of escapism in college, was just reading and reading and reading. I had no other priorities in school. So I've just been doing a few more things and work things that I am able to listen to audiobooks. So that added to it. Plus I read a few novellas for the novellathon that happened last month. So anyway, let's get into these 27 books. One of my favorite books of the month was the first one that I finished, was The Veil of Violence by Marilyn Marks. This is the second book in her Fae of the Roaring Age series. I talked about book number 1, I believe, in my last wrap up, and it was like my favorite book of the month. It's one of my favorite books of the year. I freaking love it. And I decided to immediately jump into book number 2, and it did not disappoint. The two books kind of like meshed together as one in my brain because I read them back to back. So I can't really pinpoint what happens in this book specifically in my brain. And I honestly just want to reread all of them. The next book doesn't come out till 2025. I think, like, I don't know if it's mid 2025 or beginning, I'm not sure, but I have to wait a few months for the next book in the series. This series is so cool. It really reminds me of Akamath. If you love Akamath, check out this series. It's so good. B for Mama Needs to Read Romance got me hooked onto them. It's basically a fantasy romance that takes place in the 1920s, and it deals with fated mates and fae and all this other magical goodness. It's so good. I love this one. It was 5 stars. I freaking loved it. I listened to The Art of Avoiding Your Werewolf by Lola Glass. This is her first book in the Wildwood series. This series is about, I believe, 3 girl best friends who were experimented on by the paranormal, a part of the paranormal community. I believe they were originally werewolves. And then they genetically made them into kind of like werewolf vampire hybrids, and they've kind of basically been tortured their whole life. And they believe that wolves and other paranormal creatures would kill them because being a vampire werewolf is illegal. Oh, there was a horn. The hero of this story finds out that the woman he almost hooked up with is being very suspicious, and he actually ends up bringing her to jail because she did something, and finds out also that that is his fated mate. So it's a fated mate romance with werewolves. This was a fun, quick little read. If you want like a short little audiobook novella, definitely pick these up. I believe all of them are on audio. The third book, I believe, just released, so I haven't read that one yet. Tropes for this one, you have alpha hero, baking, cute but hot. Okay, fated mates, paranormal romance, a possessive hero, a shifter romance, a vampire book, and a werewolf book. To get into the fall season, I read Fall Into You by Caroline Frank. This is a brother's best friend story, and it's fairly simple. The moment they lock eyes, they're like really into each other, and they're basically trying to hide their relationship from her brother, who is told his best friend, hey, hands off my sister. So that's basically what this story was about. There was nothing else to it. Basically the moment that they locked eyes, they were like, oh, you're the one for me. And it was a fairly long audiobook, so it was just a lot of them already being together, which isn't my favorite type of romance story, so this one was okay for me. But if you want a book with like fall vibes, I definitely recommend this one. Like, they go to pumpkin patches. It's really cute. I read 2 historicals, a part of the same series. This is A Tale of Two Sisters series by Kimberly Bell. I wanted to read the series so I could get to book number 2 specifically because I heard it has disability representation, and it was on my October TBR. So the first one was The Importance of Being Scandalous. These 2 characters end up meeting at a like masquerade ball that's attended by only the wickedest, most debauched members of society. The only thing is their respective families don't approve, and there's some other things going on, including like gaming hells and all this jazz. So yeah, but I really wanted to get to book number 2, which was A Scandal by Any Other Name, which is about the sister to the heroine from book number 1, and she has some pre-existing health conditions. I don't think they have like a diagnosis or like a name, because that's majority of the time did not happen in historical romances in historical time period. And her family, her mother specifically, has kind of ostracized her from society and doesn't want to be embarrassed by her in order to be a part of high society. Her sister and her father don't give a crap, but so she's had a lot of trauma when it comes to her mother and hiding her from society. And so when our hero comes in, who is a very big like pariah in society, in the ton, she can't help but be a little bit jarred because she's not really used to that, but she kind of just wants to say screw them screw them and show them what she's really worth. So it was an enjoyable read. I did prefer this one out of the two. I finished the Rush duet by Penelope Ward and Vi Keeland. This is Rebel Heart. Personally, I don't think this needed to become a duet. I feel like they could have squeezed these two books together and taken out some stuff, but that's just me. And I think I'm really nitpicky when it comes to duets, romance duets, because I'm a firm believer that I don't think they need to be a duet if it's not needed. There are perfect romance duets out there. Like the Full Tilt duet, that one's stunning. So like there are duets that I think deserve to be duets, but I feel like it's very rare. My duet list is not long, okay? The first book was about our two characters who meet at a place of employment, like a bar. The hero owns the bar and the heroine ends up working there as the hostess, and they end up falling for each other even though he's not a relationship type of guy. But then something big happens at the end of book number 1 that leads them into book number 2. And again, I just felt like some things could have been taken out and the books just could go together and be condensed. The Orc and the Innkeeper is my next one, and this was a great read. Like, look at the smile on my face. This one was so stinking cute. This was our book club pick for the Beam Me Up book club, kind of like our fall one, because we didn't have a live show in September, so we pushed our live show to October. So yeah, that's our bad. We never like planned the live show, so until like the middle of October. But we had so much fun with this book. Our heroine and hero end up fake dating or being fake fiancés. The heroine owns an inn that is being taken over by like magical termites, basically. I think they're like magical pixies. I don't know the correct term for it off the top of my head. Anyway, she needs to spend a lot of money to fix her problem, like that's tearing apart her walls. And so she needs money, and she knows that her high school bully, who is in the inn currently when she finds out this news, is there. And he's rich, and he's in need of a fake fiance in order to like get this guy on board with funding his brewery. So he and the heroine decide to become fake fiancés so she can get money from him, and then he can get the deal for them being fiancés. This one was so cute, like a cute autumn fall read that has like monster romance goodness in it. So I had a great time reading this, especially with Tiffany. I'll link our live show down below. If you have not watched it yet, you can watch the replay. We had so much fun discussing it and so many other fun, amazing, good things. There are a few tropes in this one. You have a bully romance. The hero was her bully back in high school, so he's not her bully currently. It's a cozy romance, cute but hot. It's cute, but it's also very hot. Okay. A fake engagement, fake fiancés, a fake engagement, fall vibes, groveling, because the hero feels really bad about what happened in high school. Okay. Hero falls first. It's on Kindle Unlimited. A monster romance, orcs, romance with magic, size difference, galore. Night Shift by Annie Crown is my next read, and this is, I feel like, a book that is perfect for people who read young adult and they would love to toe dip into the romance genre. I feel like this is a great little segue into the genre. This is a new adult romance. It takes place in college. And you have the like quintessential bookish heroine. She works the night shifts at the library on the weekends on campus, and she ends up running into our hero, who is like the basketball star on campus, and he's looking for a book on poetry for a class, and they actually like end up making out that night, and she's like, oh my gosh. And this is coming from a girl who has never, like, she's never been with anyone, kissed anyone, like done anything with anyone, so she's like in shock. She finds it very hard to believe that this basketball star would want her. I did feel at times that this book could have been YA, based on like the tone that it was giving, but it did have those romance elements put in there that's more adult-like. The young adult romance genre isn't necessarily my thing anymore, but I can really appreciate it. So I do feel like this is a good book. It's just not my taste anymore, and I do feel like it's a great little segue into the romance genre if you would love to dive on in. Tropes for this one: you have a basketball player, book lovers, the heroine is a book lover, a college romance, and it is a new adult romance. My next read was Wed to the Basilisk by Layla Faye. This is a monster romance. Obviously, this is a part of her Arranged Monster Mate series. It takes place on Earth, but we have like portals, I believe. No, wait, does it take place on Earth? I don't know. We have another planet that has like portals to different worlds where you can be genetically mated to and matched with your perfect partner. The hero is obviously like a basilisk dragon kind of like snake creature. And the heroine is wanting to find a mate and get married to a monster so she can escape her abusive relationship with a man who is like basically told her like he's going to abuse her their whole marriage when they get married, and she cannot get out of it any other way, so she decides to marry this monster. However, there's something happens at the beginning right after they get married to make her completely afraid of our hero. Even though he looks very scary on the outside and can be intimidating, he is the total softie inside, and he tries to show that to our heroine whenever possible when he takes her to his home. This one was such a great read. Such a great read. I love a good Layla book, and it was really fun. It was different too because this also takes place like in a jungle, and I haven't read a lot of books that take place in jungle, so I really like that setting. And I just loved our hero. He was like a sweet cinnamon roll guy but looked like really scary, and I love those. Tropes for this one, we have 2 things. He's got 2 things. Okay, 2. A damaged heroine, fated mates, marriage of convenience, a monster romance, a possessive hero, also a sweet hero. Tails, the hero does use his tail for things in here. And the touch her and die trope. Someone does die for touching her, so be aware of that. Next I reread. I reread Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. Have to show off the step back, obviously. This is book number 3 in the Wallflower series. I am one of the co-hosts for the Wallflower read along with Christy, Rachel, Tiff, and B. I'll link all my ladies down below and the live show to this where we discussed this. We had a lot of fun. This is the 3rd book in the series, and I think my 2nd or 3rd time reading it. This one's about Evie and Lord St. Vincent, and they are getting in a marriage of convenience for certain reasons. It has one of my favorite like road trip forced proximity tropes because they're in a carriage running off to Gretna Green to get married right at the beginning of the story. And so I love this one. I love this one so much. So if you have not checked these books out yet, I really recommend it. They're great historical romances. I finally read The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert. I know I'm a monster romance reader and I haven't read this one yet, but the Libby Hold finally came in for me. So I decided to listen to it and I was pleasantly surprised. It was pretty cute and hot. But I do wish it was kind of longer. I do wish it was longer. I feel like it could have been like this thick and I would have been happy instead of like this thin. But I guess it's just me being selfish because I wanted more. I always want more when it comes to like monster romances and stuff. Like A Soul to Keep by Opal Rain, that book is like this big. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Perfection. The heroine of the story is also kind of reminds me of Wed to the Basilisk. She's in an abusive relationship and she gets in this deal with a demon that gets her to be married to this dragon creature, and he needs a wife for specific reasons. And yeah, they're in this marriage of convenience together, and that's all I can really say without spoiling. Yeah. Tropes for this one, you have 2 things. Okay, 2 things. He has 2 things. The primal / like chasing kink, a damaged heroine, dirty talk, love that. A dragon creature romance, a marriage of convenience, the mating bite, monster romance. It's a portal fantasy, so she goes through a portal to go to the hero's fantasy world. A possessive hero, and there is some size difference. To get into the Halloween season, I read Stitches by Violet Taylor. Her marketing for this on her TikTok, immaculate, totally got me to read the book. Like, she knows what she's doing on there. Like, I immediately bought it. I don't normally buy ebooks. This was the first ebook that I've bought in quite a long time because normally I just read books off of Kindle Unlimited, but she's not on Kindle Unlimited. So I had to buy the ebook. Stitches is a Nightmare Before Christmas retelling. So that's all I really want to say because I don't want to say anything else. I loved going in blind into this. Just know it's a retelling of The Nightmare Before Christmas. And there are gruesome, like, body horror a little bit, like body parts are strewn around and stuff because like our heroine is kind of like our Sally character, right? And so her limbs are kind of like falling off and you have this evil doctor guy who put her all together. So there is some dark elements to that. So please be aware before going in if like gore and body part stuff is not your thing. Maybe don't pick this one up, but man. I also saw Violet Taylor's like art she commissioned for what the Jack hero looks like in his monster form because he has like kind of like his human form you see on the cover, but then he has his monster form that he shifts into. I saw her art she commissioned for that. And his tongue. For tropes, it's a dark romance, it's Halloween related for sure. It's a monster romance, it's a retelling. There is size difference, and it's a very smutty book. Next, I have a chunk of books that I read for the novellathon. I'm going to quickly graze over these. I did a whole novellathon vlog for my channel members, so if you want to know more about these books, you can go check out that vlog, join my channel memberships for I think like $2.99 a month. And you can go check out that vlog if you want more details. But I read The Black Beast of Belterre by Mary Jo Putney. This is technically a Christmas romance, but not really. I think like the last scene takes place on Christmas. But it's just a short little marriage of convenience, age gap romance with a scarred hero. And he is rescuing her from marrying this like 90-year-old man. So yeah, it was really good. It's one of my favorites from the readathon. Trist or Treat by N.R. Scarano was probably my favorite one that I read for that week. This is a paranormal romance between a witch and a vampire, and it's age gap. It's fiance's dad romance. He literally like steps in and marries her on the wedding day because he does not want his son to marry her, so he marries her instead. It's a grand read. I really like this one. I'll list the tropes for these books as well, just because I know y'all like when I list off the tropes. It's age gap, books with pets. She like has so many cats. Dirty talk, enemies to lovers, ex's dad, a forced marriage, forced proximity. It's Halloween related, paranormal romance. It's a novella, a vampire book. There is a wedding and it involves witches. A Torn Page by L. Rose was my next book, and this is a why choose paranormal romance with a bunch of other like magical paranormal creatures as her like men. And this one is on Audible Plus if you'd like to listen to it. That's what I did. It's a paranormal romance, it's why choose, and it has the chosen one trope. Another why choose romance that I read for that week was Four Psychos by Christy Cunning. This is the first book in the Dark Side series. So this book and the previous one I mentioned end on cliffhangers. So like it's a series. This one, our heroine is like a ghost and has been stuck in this house with 4 psycho men and is like falling for them, and one day like she can suddenly like be corporeal only for them, and they are the only ones that can see her. It's very interesting. I might continue on with this series. This one's also on Audible Plus if you'd like to listen to it. If you have an Audible subscription, you can basically listen to it for free with your subscription. It has ghosts, it's why choose, and it's a series all about the same couple. I read the second book in the Wildwood series. I talked about the first one at the very beginning of this video. You have The Art of Avoiding Your Alpha by Lola Glass. Essentially one of those vampire werewolf creature women end up falling for a werewolf. And that's essentially it. I did prefer book number 1 to this one. I also read The Never King by Nikki St. Croix. I've never read this book. I've never read Nikki St. Croix. I've heard great things about it. If you like dark romance, I recommend picking this up. It's another why choose romance with like a few books in the series following the same couple. And this one is a Peter Pan retelling, just by the way. So you have like the Lost Boys and Peter Pan. So this one's a dark romance, it's a retelling, and it is why choose. So I read all those during the novellathon. Let me know for any of the ones that are series if you feel like I should continue on, because I am unsure. Next, I read Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. I was planning on joining a book club in Austin. I recently moved to Austin. This was the book that they picked for Mocktober to read, but I like went to the meeting place, the right time, the right place, and no one was there, and it was very embarrassing for me. So I just left. But this was a book that they chose for the book club. I'm not going back to that book club, by the way. I've since joined another book club, and it was way better. And I want to join more. So if you know any in Austin that read romance books, let me know, please. But it's honestly okay that book club didn't really happen because I wasn't that big of a fan of this book. It's another book that I feel like if you love YA romance, I think you'd really like this. I feel like it's a great dip toe into the romance genre. If you're used to young adult, it reads very young adult. If there wasn't like some spiciness to it, very sprinkled in there, I would have assumed this was a YA book, not a book about like 20-something-year-olds, because they don't read like that personally to me. It's kind of like a witch trial romance in this small town where witchcraft is kind of like celebrated, and it's a sapphic romance between our heroine and one of the competitors in the witch trial games. And that's basically it. That's all there is to it. So it wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but if you like young adult romance and you want to get into more romance, I definitely recommend this one for you. This one is sapphic and it has witches. Those are the 2 tropes that I have for this one. A novella that I almost finished for the novellathon but didn't get there in time is Bewitching the Boss by Jessica Kane. Oh, this one's really fun. Our heroine is the one stalking the hero, and she has been hired to be his event planner for a Halloween party that he's throwing for his employees. And yeah, she's the one that's been stalking him for a while, so you rarely get to see a heroine stalking the hero, but it was fun. It was a Jessica Kane read. Like, what else can you expect? This one is a Halloween romance. It's a novella. You have a stalker, a virgin hero, and a workplace romance. Another one I almost finished for the novella-thon, but didn't get there, but I ended up finishing it anyway. This is Only the Clonely by Ruby Dixon. This is the first book in the Sunrise Cantina series, which is a new, I think, series that she's writing. I think it's a spin-off of the Rizzverse series and the Corsair Brothers series, so I do recommend reading these in order. I have a whole Ruby Dixon guide video on my channel because, man, if you did not know some of the things going on before this, I feel like you'd be really confused. Both of the main characters are clones, so you get to read about like clones and what's going on with like clones and stuff in the previous books that she's written a part of this world. But the heroine is really struggling with her kind of like clone identity and actually being around other women that look exactly like her, and how can she stand out with these women. And our hero is an alien clone, and from the moment that he sees Ruthie, our heroine, he's like, oh my gosh, you're mine. And he literally tells her that, and she's very stunned. She's never had anyone put her first. So yeah, it's basically a book about him kind of butter her up, like in a respectful way. Like, he is there for her every step of the way. It's best friends to lovers romance for sure, even though he's been in love with her this whole time. This one is an alien romance, friends to lovers, hero falls first. There's a lot of piercing stuff. There might be a sexy scene with someone getting a piercing involved. And we have a virgin hero. I always love virgin hero romances. Lost in the Wild by Cassie Mint is my next read. I love like wild man romances, I do. The heroine is a journalist, and her boss has tasked her to climb up all the way to the top of this mountain in her town and go and find I think he has a name, but he's kind of like, just in my head, like the wild man that lives on the mountain. People think he's kind of like a myth or something. So she goes up to the mountain to try and find this man, and she does. And he's not very happy that she's there. He's like, I just want to live alone on my mountain. And he has some like past trauma and reasons as to why he's living on the top of this mountain and not in society, and basically lives in a cave all by himself. And obviously the book will explore that more. But at first he's not really into this heroine coming to find him, obviously, which is very unique for Cassie Mint books. Because I feel like Cassie Mint books, it's very instant love, instant connection. You go right on in, but you have a little bit of resistance at the beginning. But of course, he falls hard for her. This one, the tropes, I have a recluse and we have a wild man. I read another Ruby Dixon book. Her new audios were coming in on Libby, and I prefer to listen to her audiobooks and read them as ebooks just because I love her audiobooks so much. They're so good. So this is When She's Common. This is book number 12 in her Rizzverse series, and this one was so fun. I freaking love this one. So the heroine of the story, she lives on this planet Rizda 3, and if you don't know, it's a planet that Ruby Dixon like created. There's a whole series called the Rizzverse series. This is book number 12 in there, but then other books and other series kind of intermingle, and they come on the planet and kind of like they just cross over with each other. Okay, so you've seen these people on this planet in a bunch of books. It's a planet full of human refugees who have nowhere else to go, and they own farms and other things. And I mean, I honestly, I would love to live on this planet. The heroine is very much an extrovert, and she owns a farm, and she's like, farming isn't really for me. I don't really like farming, but I don't know what else to do, and like no one really wants to be my friend, and I just want to talk to everyone. She feels kind of lonely, so someone kind of recommends that she gets a pet, and she gets a cat. But cats obviously don't exist on this alien planet, and so she talks to one of the alien creatures and is like, hey, can you hook me up with a cat? Like, I'd love a pet cat. So she has to pay like a bunch of credits, a bunch of money to get this cat shipped to her. And when he finally does get shipped to her, she opens the kennel and it's ginormous. She's like, why is this cat in this giant freaking cage? And it's our hero. Our hero, Praxian alien. So it's kind of like, you can't really describe it. Do I have a picture of what a Praxian looks like? It's like kind of what it is. So Willa's beast, the hero, is part Praxian. It's kind of like alien with like fur. Ruby has like commissioned art on her Instagram of like Praxians and stuff like that. But anyway, he's actually the king of all the Praxians, and he's in hiding. And that's why he was shipped to her, and he thought that he was gonna be sent somewhere safe with like servants to take care of him and all this stuff, but no, he's stuck with a human woman who he finds ugly and dumb. And it's like, you need to serve me on hand and foot. Why aren't you doing so? She's like, I am not your servant, dude. You're supposed to be my pet. Like, someone screwed up. And it's so funny. At the beginning you have this like prim proper stuck up snob hero and a heroine who just like wants to pummel him because he's so rude. But it's a fun read. I really enjoyed this one. Like, I was cackling a lot. Like, I love Ruby. I love her. Tropes, you have alien romance, forced proximity, great banter, it's a marriage of convenience, a meet cute moment that is iconic, like I just mentioned, and it is a slow burn romance. I picked up Lies and Lullabies next by Serena Bowen. I have read a few Serena Bowen books and I really do enjoy her writing. So I saw this one on Libby and I was like, why the heck not? Let's pick it up. This is a rock star romance. Our hero is a rock star, and I think 5 years ago, was it 5 years ago? He went to this very small town in Maine and fell in love with the city and with a girl who worked at the kind of like, not resort, like camping log cabin place that he was staying at. They have this like whirlwind romance, and it's been years later and he comes back to this town because he finds that he got a lot of inspiration for his songwriting there. So he's like, let's go back. And he's never stopped thinking about that woman that he had that amazing summer with. And when he shows up, she's there, but so is the little girl that may or may not be his. So yeah, it has the secret baby trope, which I don't love a secret baby. I love surprise baby. I don't love a secret baby. And I feel like her reasons were justified. I don't really like rockstar romances, but I did surprisingly really enjoy that part of the story. So yeah, I had a great time with it, and I do need to read more Serena Bowen books. Tropes for this one, it's a rockstar romance, second chance, and you have secret baby. I read Scoring the Player by Rebecca Genchak, which is book number 3 in the Campus Wallflower series. This is a whole series about 4 friends, and each book is their romance and their roommates and their best friends. And the heroine of the story, she is a fashion designer, but also a on the golf team in college, and this is her romance with the star quarterback football player on the college team. I feel like this is a great series. Again, if you love YA romance and you want to go into adult romance, I feel like this series is a great starter, like new adult series for you. These 2 characters end up fake dating, and that's basically what this is about. Personally, it's my least favorite of the series so far. I do enjoy these books, but I don't love fake dating romances. That's just not, it's not my favorite trope, unfortunately. For Halloween, I ended up reading Fed After Midnight by Alextra Nova. This was a part of an anthology that came out last year, written by a bunch of different authors. I think Tiffany got the anthology. I ended up not getting it, but it's stunning. So this was a novella that was a part of that anthology, and I didn't really know what this was going into it, but essentially our hero is kind of like, you know, in the movie Gremlins, this takes place in the 80s, by the way, like takes place in the 80s at a mall. Oh, the anthology was called Creepy Court, there you go. He is a creature that is kind of like gremlins. Like when they get wet, they multiply, and then if they eat after midnight, they get kind of like scary looking. Anyway, he kind of tries to distance himself from a girl he sees at the mall. Like throughout the years they become friends, but he's trying so hard to distance himself because he can't like fall for her, because he doesn't want her to know his secret and like run away screaming. But his magicalness, featureness comes into play in some of the story. So yeah, it was fun, grand little read to read on Halloween. This is a friends to lovers romance. It's Halloween related. There's longing / pining, and it is a monster romance. And the last book that I have is Temptation by Jenna Hartley. I really wanted to pick this one up because I heard it's an ex's dad romance, and I love an ex's dad. I do. So the heroine gets a job to be the house sitter for this very rich man. She doesn't know who the man is, but the agency that she works for basically like sets it all up. So she ends up house sitting for this man, and he comes home one night and she doesn't know that he's gonna be there, and she almost like hits him with a baseball bat because she does not know that someone is supposed to be in the house, and it turns out to be her ex's father, who just purchased the house and is planning on renovating it. So there is forced proximity with that because she's like staying in the house when he is as well, and they kind of had this mutual attraction before she ever started dating her ex-boyfriend, because they saw each other before she met his son. Yeah, it's a great ex's dad romance. I love a good ex's dad. Tropes for this one, it's age gap, angsty, a billionaire, the hero's a billionaire, ex's dad, it's a forbidden romance, you have forced proximity, and the hero fell first. Anyways, there you have it. Those are all the books, the very many books, too many books I read in October. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books or if you plan to. And if you don't feel like commenting anything else, you can leave me a flower emoji in the comment section down below. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I will see y'all soon in my next one. Bye y'all.